Hey YouTube, what's going on, and welcome back to Cairo and His Things. Nope, I'm not under arrest. We're just reviewing the new offering from Sofirn, the IF24. Alright, let's get right down to the specs on this light. For size, we're looking at 126 millimeters top to bottom, or 4.9 inches. And then we're looking at 28 millimeters, or 1.1 inch on the depth. And then as far as weight, we're looking at 95 grams without the battery. I will show you some size comparisons here. So this is an 18650 light, and here is another 18650 by Sofirn. This is one of the smallest 18650s on the market. So here's how small an 18650 can be, and you can see pretty significant size difference there. Now here is one of Sofirn's 21700 lights, and now this is a larger 21700, a little bit larger just because it's got both the side switch and the tail switch in there. Anyways, here we can see that, you know, it's a good deal smaller still than the Sofirn SP35T. And then as far as overall diameter there, maybe even a little bit smaller there. So it's a little bit big for an 18650 light, but it's still not huge. Speaking of that battery, we'll go ahead and take a look at it. So we just twist off this bottom cap here. All right. And we're looking at a 3000 milliamp 18650. This does have USB-C recharging right there underneath that flap. Pretty small flap, so that's nice. You guys know I don't like big flaps, and it does not tear up too easily. You can kind of catch that flap a little bit and get it up, but for the most part, you're not going to accidentally do it. And you can see we do have a battery indicator right underneath that flap. So I'm on green, so I'm on good battery. I believe that's like 70 to 100%. And then when you're on yellow, you get, or orange, you get down to lower, and red, you're at like less than 30%. Okay. On the bottom here, we do have a magnetic tail cap. It's not the strongest magnet I've ever seen, but I mean, for being a larger light, it does hang on there pretty well. Moving on to the back end here, we do have a one-way pocket clip, which is really all you need. Nobody's going to use a two-way on this. It's not a great clip. It's okay. I mean, it's just kind of there. As you can see, it just kind of fits into the body of the light, so it doesn't take up any extra room there. And then that is where it's going to fit in your pocket, so that's about how much you're going to have sticking out of your pocket. Okay, so still a little bit's going to stick out of your pocket. Not too bad, though. I would have liked them to see that, raise that a little bit further back, but if that's all they could do with it, I think it still works fine. Now, moving on to the sides here, all we're working with basically is these arrows for grip. I will say they are a little bit grippy. You can get your fingers on there. I wouldn't say they're as grippy as something like the old school Sofirn, like diamond knurling that they used to have. But this does look pretty clean. And most people probably aren't going to be using these in too crazy of an environment. So I think that's fine. Looks decent, and it is a little bit grippy. Now on the front, as you can see, we do have an exposed LED strip here, okay? And so that is 22 white LEDs, and then we have 15 of the RGBs in the middle there. Now I will say I'm personally not a fan of this being exposed. I prefer a diffuser over it. For example, here on this Wurkkos HD01, it's kind of the same deal here with the RGB strip. Same thing, except this has this like diffuser lens over top, whereas this is completely open. Now, the issue with that is when I turn this on in person, I cannot tell you how many times I've accidentally looked into that light, and you will see every one of those little LEDs in your eyesight for a couple minutes. With this Wurkkos, I love being able to like actually look at the light, to look at all the cool colors and things they could do. I look right at it. With this one, you cannot look directly at it, or you're going to be blinding yourself for a little bit. So I really wish they would have used a diffuser lens, but what I will say is Sofirn put out a community poll and they asked people, what do you want? Do you want it exposed like this, or do you want it diffused? And the community came out and said, we want it clear and exposed like this. So that's what they did. So I cannot knock Sofirn for this. This is what the customers asked for. But me personally, I don't like it being exposed like that. Now on top of that LED strip, we do have the button here. It's actually a pretty nice button. Okay, so with that button, you're getting a similar button to what you get, you know, on the bottom of like the Sofirn SC32 and other lights, where they have this kind of spiral thing going on here on the button. It feels pleasant to push. The only thing I will say is that there is quite a bit of travel in there to click it. Let me see if we can. So there's at first. You can see all that travel until we get the click. So you're going to feel that kind of just moving around in there. I like a more stable, consistent, just nice and, you know, up and down. I don't want, you know, to be able to move it front and back, you know, like so. But it is a nice button. It's just got a bit of travel. Outside of that button, we do have this rotary switch here. So you can see we're on lock here. And so that actually allows you to turn to what you want to do. So you can turn and then press the button for whatever you want to do, okay? So having that rotary switch is really nice, since this comes with so many features with the LEDs that you can do. Now up on the head of this light, we are working with an SST40 in there. So what that means is you're going to get a pretty well balanced light. It will have some throw, it will have some flood, it will be nice and balanced. Some of the tints might be a bit green. It depends on the bending that you get on your SST40, but overall, it really is actually a really nice profile to the beam. I'm a big fan of the beam profile in the SST40s, and that is a TIR in there. Now let's take a look at performance. Now here are all the listed claims by Sofirn. So on the head, we're listed at 2000 lumens on turbo, and that's going to last for 30 seconds before it steps down, and then you're going to get an hour and a half out of the step down. For high mode, 700 lumens, and again 30 second step down, and then a 2 hour and 25 minute runtime on that cooldown there. So then on medium, we're looking at 150 lumens straight for 13.5 hours for the most part. Low, 10 lumens for 115 hours. And moonlight mode, so it does come with moonlight, you're looking at 1 lumen for 20 days. Now on the side white strip here that we have, the white LEDs, we're looking at turbo at 550 claim lumens for 3.5 hours. High at 200 for 5.5 hours. Medium at 100 lumens for 12 hours. Low at 20 lumens for 58 hours. And a moonlight as well on the side LEDs at 1 lumen for 20 days as well. Alright, so let's take a look at the user interface. Now, if you're familiar with the Wurkkos HD01, which I just recently did a review on, the user interface is actually going to be very, very similar, with the difference being instead of everything working off of just buttons, we've got the rotary switch to kind of control things and then use the button from there. So initially, we're going to have lock mode, which is pretty simple. That means you're not going to be able to just turn on the light. So this is probably what you might leave it in your pocket on or whatever. But what's kind of cool is if you hold down on lock mode, you are going to get moonlight mode. So you can get moonlight if you hold down, if that's all you're going to want to use. Okay, so once we want to step out of lock mode, if we turn to this little button here, that's going to be just your general output out of the head, okay? So from off, we hold for moonlight, and then we can hold to switch through low, medium, high, and it won't go back into moonlight unless you turn it off and hold it down. So very, very basic, simple user interface on the head there, okay? Double click for turbo, triple click for strobe, double click again for SOS. So really, really simple user interface there on the head. It's the basic user interface that we see on a lot of lights, okay? So real easy to use. Now, so I'm going to switch it to this one here. So these three green dots are going to be your RGB colors, okay? So here's where it gets interesting. So for one, you can hold down to change the color that you want, and you can stop it at any point if you like a certain tint of that color. So I'm going to stop it right here on this bright green, okay? And then from there, I can double click to change it to a flashing of whatever color I chose. But even in this flashing, I can actually hold down and change the color again if I want. So now I'm on a bright blue. And now I'm going to double click. This takes me into police mode. Double click again, takes me back to constant. And there I can change the tint again. Double click again, and now I'm actually looking at the waterfall. And then we're looking at the rain droplets here. Okay, so just like on the HD01, kind of the same ordeal that we get there. All right. Now, I can click to turn that off, but if we change again to that final mode, that's going to be your white LEDs on the side here. So check this out. Look at how low you can get on the side there with those white LEDs. If I'm using moonlight, I actually kind of like to use that side one. It's pretty nice. It's got a nice flood to it. Now we can hold down and cycle low, medium, high, just like out of the top. Double click for turbo, triple click for strobe. So same deal. All right, so really, really easy to use on those white LEDs and out of the top. So the only thing that might get a little bit confusing is initially understanding the RGBs, but it's as simple as double click to cycle through your modes, and then if you want to change color, hold. Okay, so I'm going to switch this back to off mode, and there we go. All right, let's get into the important stuff here. Why don't you come with me outside and let's take a look at some beam shots. All right, now that we saw what this light can do outside, let's talk about final notes on this. So for one, I do think that this is a great light. I'm really glad to have it in my collection. There are some lights that I get that I'm like, yeah, it's decent. I can see the use for it, but I'm not going to use it that often. This is one I will use because it's very versatile. I feel that it's very useful. I think that between the white strip, the RGBs, the head, the magnet, all the things that come with this, all the functions, make it a very versatile light, so I can use this in a lot of different places for a lot of different things. So that's pretty cool. And additionally, I think it's very fun. Like, I think that the Wurkkos HD01 is a ton of fun. I like carrying this light just because of all the features. Well, this is just a big Wurkkos HD01 pretty much. This is just going to give you more juice, more power, you know, so not as easy to carry, not as comfortable to carry as that HD01, but if you want something a little bit more and a little extra, it's kind of like having a big HD01, okay? I also do think it's pretty well made, especially for the price. It is not cheaply made. It might be a fairly inexpensive light, but it does not feel cheap. It feels well made. It's not the most quality I've ever felt, but it is good quality. I do like it. I'm enjoying it. Now, some things that I will say is that I think that you need to compare this with the Sofirn IF24 Pro that just came out, and additionally the Sofirn IF23 to decide which one is best for you. Because here we can see what all comes with the Sofirn IF24, but they're all different, okay? With the IF24 Pro, the biggest difference is it's going to come with a buck driver, meaning you are going to get a better driver, you're going to get better sustained run times out of that light. But additionally, the big difference is that the Pro version comes with an SFT 40 emitter. What that means is you're going to get a longer throwing, more narrow beam, okay? So everything else is going to be the same. It's going to be the same design, same UI, same functions. So that really comes down to, do you prefer to have a long throwy beam or do you prefer to have a more well-balanced beam? The enthusiasts are mostly going to go for the Pro mode. I think if you're just a general consumer who needs a good flashlight, you're probably going to want to stick to the Sofirn IF24. Now the Sofirn IF23 we do need to mention. That comes with an XHP 50B emitter, which is one of my favorite emitters. I like it a little bit better than the SST 40. Additionally, it comes with a claim 4000 lumens, so double the lumens. It also comes with a diffuser strip, diffuser lens over top of the LED strip here, so you're not blinding yourself with it. If you prefer it to be clear and transparent, obviously this is the one for you. If you prefer to have that diffuser over there, you might want to look at the IF23. Now the IF23 comes with a 21700 battery, so it's going to be bigger than this. It's going to be even less comfortable in your pocket, but it will give you better run times, okay? And then lastly, it will have a button user interface. So instead of having this rotary, you have to control everything off the buttons. For me, that's not a big deal. I tend to remember with these ones, but if that's confusing for you, if you're not deep into this hobby, this one might be a little bit easier for you to use where you can just switch. Because I mean, this is really, really convenient being able to just switch for what you want. And I will say that IF23 works as a power bank, whereas this does not. It does take in USB-C charging, but it does not give it back out. So you kind of have to decide what works best for you. I think for me, my favorite one is the Sofirn IF23. However, the Sofirn IF24 is really good if you actually want to carry it in your pocket. You know, if you want to actually be able to use it daily, whereas the IF23 is a little bit big. You can put it in your pocket, but it's not as comfortable. As far as price, we're going to be looking at $41 on the Sofirn website. Of course, you will be ordering it from China. You're looking at a few week lead time on the shipping. If you want to go directly through Amazon, we're looking at $53 in the US. Overall, I'm really enjoying the light. I'm glad to have it. It's fun, it's useful, and I recommend picking it up if you can. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it. My channel is still small, so I'd really appreciate if you'd subscribe if you did enjoy this. If you had anything that you wanted to see me review, please leave it in the comment below. Or if there's any two lights you want to see me compare one against another, I'd love to provide that for you. So leave me a comment down below and let me know. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great week.